The Mars rock that looks like a face, and it's moving. It stares out from the rusty alien dust of Mars, a formation that looks, well, undeniably like a face. We've seen these kinds of things before, right? These Martian illusions, but this one feels different. Reports are flooding in. Images are going viral like crazy. This isn't just some rock that happens to look like a face. This rock apparently is moving. How on Mars is that possible? Is it a trick of the light? A weird geological quirk? Or could it be something far, far stranger? The internet is absolutely buzzing, and today we're getting to the bottom of this mystery. Imagine you're scrolling through the latest pictures from Mars, beamed back across millions of miles. You're half expecting another crater, another sweeping dune field. And then, there it is. A face. And not just a hint of one, but features that scream familiar. You can almost make out eyes, a nose, a mouth. Then the update drops that sends a shiver down your spine. A new image taken days or maybe weeks later, and the face is somewhere else. Or perhaps it's just turned. This is the story that's got millions hooked. The Mars rock that looks like a face and now seems to be on the move. When NASA's rovers, like Perseverance or Curiosity, send back their stunning postcards from the red planet, they're doing some serious science. But every now and then they capture something that goes way beyond geology and just ignites the global imagination. This moving face rock is the latest in a pretty long line of Martian mysteries that have basically turned into internet gold. Remember the famous face on Mars that the Viking 1 orbiter snapped way back in 1976? That shadowy mesa in the Cydonia region. It launched decades of speculation. People wondered, was it a monument? A message from some ancient Martian civilization? Now higher resolution images years later showed it to be a natural landform, a classic trick of light and shadow. But the fascination, that never really died. It tapped into something deep inside us, our hope or maybe even our fear of finding something familiar in a place so alien. And it just keeps happening. We've seen rocks that look like spoons, thigh bones, even a tiny Bigfoot. Seriously. More recently, in 2024, an image from Perseverance showed a rock that looked shockingly like a decaying human head, complete with a brow ridge, nose, and mouth. Of course, it went viral. Forums and social media channels just exploded with theories. People see these images and the story just takes off. Is it finally proof of alien life? Are the space agencies hiding something from us? This moving face rock, though, takes things to a whole new level. A static face is one thing, a face that relocates is something else entirely. This isn't just about an odd shape anymore, it's about agency, about unexpected action on a planet we often think of as cold, still, and, well, rocky. The viral appeal is off the charts because it mixes that creepy, uncanny valley feeling of a face with the sheer weirdness of unexplained movement. Every share, every comment, every late-night forum discussion just adds to the legend. This is how modern myths are born, really, in the whirlwind of online curiosity and speculation. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good Martian mystery? It tugs at that what-if string, turning us all into armchair explorers staring at grainy images searching for meaning. Okay, before we even tackle the moving part, let's talk about the face part. Why are our brains so quick to spot human-like features in a random jumble of Martian rocks and shadows? The answer is a pretty cool quirk of the human brain called pareidolia. Pareidolia is that thing our minds do when we see a familiar pattern, like a face or an everyday object, in something that's actually random or vague. It's the reason you see a rabbit in the clouds, the man in the moon, or maybe a surprised expression on your burnt toast. Our brains are quite literally hardwired for it. There's even a specific spot in our brain, the fusiform gyrus, that's a pro at recognizing faces. This skill was super important for our ancestors. Being able to quickly spot a face in the bushes could mean telling a friend from a foe or spotting a predator hiding in the shadows. So our brains got exceptionally good at finding faces, sometimes a little too good. That's when we start seeing them even when they aren't really there, especially in blurry or visually noisy images, like some of those we get from Mars. And Mars, well, it's basically a pareidolia paradise. Its surface is this wild canvas of craters, rocks, and wind-swept plains, all sculpted by like billions of years of geological action. Wind erosion, ancient water flows, crazy temperature swings, and volcanic activity have all helped create an incredibly diverse and sometimes downright bizarre-looking landscape. Mix that chaotic geology with just the right lighting, the specific angle of a rover's camera, and our brain's over-eager face-finding software, and voila, faces. That original face on Mars from 1976 is a perfect example. In those low-res, shadowy images from Viking 1, a particular mesa in Sidonia looked uncannily like a humanoid head. Decades later, when orbiters like the Mars Global Surveyor and the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter got much sharper pictures, the face turned out to be a natural geological formation, a butte, shaped by wind and maybe ancient water, but definitely not an alien statue. So when we see this new face rock, science tells us that, at least for the face part, we're probably just experiencing pareidolia. It's a neat reminder of how our brains work, kind of like an echo of an old survival skill. It doesn't mean there's nothing interesting there, but it does mean we should be careful. What we think we see might be more about us than about Mars. But that still leaves the burning question of, how is it moving? This is where the story veers from a cool, optical illusion into something genuinely baffling. If it were just a rock that looked like a face, we could comfortably file it under pareidolia, grab a coffee and move on. But the reports, the images zipping around online, suggest this particular face rock has been spotted in different locations, or at least its orientation has changed. This is the heart of the viral storm, the bit that pushes it way beyond our brains just playing tricks on us. Now let's be crystal clear, the idea of a rock itself just getting up and strolling around on Mars, that's, to put it mildly, not backed up by any science we know. Rocks are, inanimate. So if there's solid evidence of movement, like multiple reliable images showing the exact same distinctly featured rock in different spots over time, then we've got a real Martian puzzle on our hands. So what could make a rock move on Mars? The planet isn't as quiet as you might think. One of the biggest movers and shakers on the Martian surface is wind. Mars has a thin atmosphere, sure, but it gets some seriously powerful winds and even planet-circling dust storms. These winds can definitely shift smaller pebbles and sand. Could a strong enough gust, maybe a dust devil, which are pretty common on Mars, nudge a larger, oddly shaped rock, especially if it's balanced just so or sitting on a loose slope? It's possible. We've seen wandering sand dunes get completely reshaped by Martian winds, so we know the atmosphere packs. Then there's gravity and good old geological instability. Mars is a geologically active planet, though it's less so than Earth. It has these things called muskquakes along with landslides and avalanches, especially when seasonal frost starts to thaw. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has even captured images of avalanches of frozen carbon dioxide during the Martian spring, and those can definitely move rocks and debris around. So, could our face rock have been knocked loose by a tremor, or maybe it just rolled down a slope because of erosion or a nearby impact? That's definitely plausible. Back in 2014, the Opportunity rover actually photographed a rock that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Scientists figured it was likely dislodged and moved by the rover itself. And that brings us to the rovers themselves. Could the rock have been accidentally nudged or shifted by one of NASA's rovers? Rovers are constantly churning up soil and can definitely disturb rocks as they drive around. If the face rock was in the path of Curiosity or Perseverance, an interaction is a possibility, though the rover teams are usually pretty good at noting those kinds of things. That 2014 moving rock incident, for example, was chalked up to the Opportunity rover bumping into it. Of course, we also can't rule out imaging quirks or just plain misinterpretations. Are the images really from the exact same spot and under the same lighting? Sometimes different angles, shadows, or even how the images are processed could make the same object look different or seem like it's shifted. When scientists stitch together panoramic images, it can occasionally lead to distortions or what look like duplications if things aren't perfectly aligned. Plus, we've got to make sure the different locations aren't just different camera angles on the same static object. So there are several natural and still pretty fascinating explanations for how a rock might appear to move on Mars. Wind, geological shifts, rover interactions, these are all part of the dynamic Martian environment. Before anyone jumps to wilder conclusions, these are the possibilities scientists would check out very, very carefully. The key would be clear, unmistakable evidence showing the exact same unique rock in verifiably different places, with no room for simple explanations like a change in perspective. Alright, let's get to the really juicy part of this mystery. We've covered pareidolia for why it looks like a face. This is where things get really interesting, the point where we step into the land of the truly unexplained, at least for now. Now we need to be careful here and really separate the wild guesses from the intriguing possibilities that might actually deserve a closer scientific look. Could there be unknown geological stuff happening? Mars is still a planet packed with surprises. Maybe there are processes happening under the surface, like buried ice sublimating, turning straight from solid to gas. It could make rocks shift or settle in weird ways. We know that Martian spring brings some explosive changes, with thawing dry ice triggering geysers and avalanches. Could something like that, but on a smaller, more local scale, affect a particular rock formation? Perhaps the rock is what geologists call a float, a rock that was moved from its original spot by powerful natural forces like a meteorite impact or an ancient flood, and its current movement is just it settling or being displaced again. For instance, the Skull Hill rock found by Perseverance in April 2025 was thought to be a float, possibly moved by erosion or an impact. What if the movement we think we see isn't the rock itself, but something happening around the rock? Could it be a trick of shifting sands at its base, creating the illusion that it's moving or rotating? We've seen features like dark sloped streaks on Mars, once thought to be signs of liquid water, but now some researchers think they're dry dust avalanches or related to wind. It just shows how surface features can change in unexpected ways. And then, of course, there's the question that always whispers in the background whenever we talk about Mars. Could it be something artificial? This is the theory that really fuels the most intense online debates. The idea that an object showing controlled or unexplainable movement could be a sign of past or even present non-human technology is undeniably thrilling. But, and this is a big but, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. So far, despite all the weird shapes and pareidolia-inducing rocks, there's zero confirmed scientific evidence of alien structures or artifacts on Mars. The viral sensation of a moving face rock probably comes from a mix of our pattern-seeking brains, the genuinely dynamic nature of the Martian surface, and, well, the simple fact that it's hard to get a perfect picture of a planet that's, millions of miles away from tantalizing but often incomplete snapshots. Maybe the movement is just a misinterpretation of different images, a series of natural shifts, or simply a very unusual rock in a very active spot. But that what if still hangs in the air. What if this particular rock, with its face-like features and apparent movement, really does present a new kind of puzzle? The scientific way is to be skeptical and thoroughly test all the usual explanations first. But it also means keeping an open mind. Every strange rock, every unexplained movement pushes us to understand Martian geology and its atmosphere better. It reminds us that Mars, even though it looks barren, is a world of ongoing change and mystery. The electrifying theory might not end up being about aliens, but about discovering some new, unexpected way Mars itself works. And that, honestly, is pretty electrifying all by itself. So what do you think is going on with this moving face rock on Mars? Is it a simple trick of our eyes and some Martian geology, or is there something more to this mystery? Let us know your theories down in the comments below. And if you love figuring out the mysteries of the cosmos, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next cosmic exploration. The whole story of the Mars rock that looks like a face and is apparently moving is a perfect example of why the red planet still has such a tight grip on our imagination. It's a story that beautifully mixes what we know about science, like pareidolia and Martian geology with the irresistible pull of the unknown. We know our brains are wired to see faces in random patterns, and Mars offers an endless gallery of rocks sculpted by ancient, powerful forces. We also know that Mars isn't a dead, static world. It's a dynamic planet with winds, quakes, and seasonal changes that can and do change its surface. These forces can definitely cause rocks to shift, slide, or be covered and uncovered by dust and sand. And yet, every new anomaly, every image that makes us do a double take, invites us to look closer, to ask more questions, and to learn more. The moving face rock, whether it eventually turns out to be something we can easily explain or remains a lingering puzzle, reminds us that there's still so much we don't know about Mars. It fuels the drive for more exploration, for better images, for more data that can help us piece together the red planet's incredible story. Perhaps the most enduring truth is that Mars is a place where science and mystery just keep on coexisting, and with every new rover, every new orbiter, and every keen-eyed observer back here on Earth, we get a little bit closer to understanding its secrets. Even if some of them keep us guessing and definitely keep us looking up.